In the heart of the Karakoram mountains of northern Pakistan, Once in Skardu, we were just in time to participate in the marriage of our dear friend and colleague, Nate. Our day in Skardu was our final chance to check the lists of supplies and rations, including complete ever in Sugar Village by any expedition. We journeyed along the Shiga River to Mango village, which we now know as Hyderabad. After lunch and a last drink of coke, we crossed the Braldu River over the suspension bridge, leaving behind the main route to Baltoro and Ascoli. As we neared Arandu village in the closing light of evening, the river flowing out of Tipurganj glacier had swollen enough to force our drivers to stop their jeeps and ponder the wonders of nature. Here the river had divided into many streams, but ironically, the last one was the toughest, so the first jeep became nicely stuck in slippery stones. The water was freezing cold, but we all had to get in to push it out. However, all we succeeded in doing was making the jeep even more firmly jammed in the stones. So we took out the rope and pulled it out. Arandu Food plays a very decisive role in maintaining the morale of a trekking team.
अच्छा, ओह गुड साबित, काफ़ी सारी तूने बनाई हैं, तैयार किए हैं।
बस सर कोशिश करेंगे तैयार हो जल्दी से डिनर दे दें।
तो कितनी रोटियां बना रहे हो यार?
ये कोई 100 रोटी बनाते हैं डेली।
100?
पराठे सुबह 100 रोटी जो है शाम को 100 रोटी दोपहर को।
और ये कौन लोग हैं यार? 20-25 आदमी बहुत खाते हैं।
सर पता नहीं कहाँ से आए, किस नाले से आए, बहुत ज़्यादा खाते हैं।
ओए ओए ओए।
The first task at base camp was to pay the hardy Balti porters from Tisar and Arandu for carrying our loads here. Without their help, we could not have got all our food and equipment at the base. As the winds started blowing again, we gathered to pray to God for safety and success as we sacrificed the Zo. We were sure energetic meat from the sacrifice would help us climb the mountain. The meat was transferred to a snow cave. We dug in the snow of glacier to store it. This was our fridge for the next 3 weeks. Soon heavy work gave way to some entertainment, and we were back on the task of making of some stone platforms on puddles of water and ice, breaking the boulders to get sheets of flat stones. These flat stones will help us make a level platform for pitching the large mess tents to accommodate most of us for discussions and meals. We had established a small settlement at the foot of the mountain. After enjoying a day's rest at the base, we decided to go for Camp 1. By 7 a.m., 18 of us were ready with our packs and gathered in front of the mess tent as Murad brought out smoking juniper leaves on a hot plate to ward off evil spirits. This is a local Gujali tradition when starting a new project.
Karavan leaders! Zindabad!
Our plan to establish Camp 1, dump loads and then return would also help us acclimatize, as we would climb high and sleep low. As we got on the southeast ridge of Spantik, we were greeted by fresh flowers and green grass. Rode slowly, burdened by our packs and the steepness of on the steep ridge just over the base camp and enjoyed marvelous views of the Chogolungma glacier flowing towards east. During the planning phase of the expedition, we discussed the climb route in detail with Umar and Shaji, who had been up here to Camp 3 2 years before, and with some high-altitude porters from Shimshal who had been on the summit in the late 90s. They all remembered the same thing, that there was no snow on the way to Camp 1 from the base camp. But here it was the opposite, and we were greeted by masses of deep snow. In the year 2002, we had extraordinary heavy snowfall as compared to the past many years, which made the task a bit difficult than what we were thinking. To reach Camp 1 at the height of 5,050 meters, with commanding views of Chogolungma Glacier and the Laila Majnu peaks. The place where there must have been a kitchen was now a sharp ridge of deep snow. Soon we started to make platforms for tents with the flat stones on the dry patch, steep slope dropping down to the Basin Glacier. We pitched a dome tent and dumped high-altitude tents EPI gas, ropes and food we had carried from the base, and then came down. Back at the base camp, we celebrated establishment of Camp 1 with a fresh drink of Tang. As the weather cleared on the 7th of July, the first climbing team of 8 members started from the base camp for Camp 2 and the backup team of 4 members for Camp 1. The backup team took additional loads of food for Camp 1 while the first climbing team tried to establish Camp 2 with light loads.
We pray that whole group would return safely and successfully.
I am very happy to see such a beautiful place.
If the weather is fine, then we'll put up Camp 3. And if God is in good mood, we'll reach the summit.
I think it's a wonderful idea. The plus points of this team are that they are very fit climbers and that their mutual understanding is marvelous.
It was a difficult decision in the beginning to face a big challenge together. But thanks God, here we are enjoying ourselves in peace, playing cards and having great food.
एक दिन मौसम हमारे लिए अच्छा रहा.
One day the weather was fine for us. We tried and reached Camp 1 and established Camp 1. After that we had to stay in base camp due to 3-4 days of bad weather and snowfall. Now again, with one day of pleasant weather, we got the opportunity to establish Camp 2. Well, the weather turned bad again, and we had to return to base camp. Now we friends are trying that if the weather favors us, then we would try to establish Camp 3, and if the weather is still favorable, then we would try the summit. But all this now depends on weather.
On the evening of 12th July, we decided to say goodbye to the comforts and flowers of Karavan base camp for higher summits. The weather had been good most of the day, and we hoped that it would not turn bad again for a longer period. By now, we were well acclimatized. Many thanks to our kitchen team who had made good use of the meat we had stored in the fridge. Khushdil was with us to operate proper kitchen at Camp 1. The weather was not the best we could have hoped for, yet we decided to carry on with our plan to moving to Camp 2. Here we formed two teams of 4 climbers each for movement ahead. The visibility was very poor due to low clouds, and we had to walk very carefully on the ridge. Fresh snow had already erased our last tracks. The snow conditions were hard due to soft fresh snow, but still it was better than merging into deep snow.
हम अल्लाह की फजल से 1 घंटे भी है हमें कैंप 2 पहुंचने में मजे लेते हुए हम जा रहे हैं.
Here one needs the aesthetic sense of climbing more than ever. You have to be aware of your balance all the time, sensing well the placement of your shoes. Crampons require great care, and their proper use helps in conserving energy. 4 hours and made platforms for pitching new tents. The tents already pitched here shall be carried to higher camps now. Snow kept on falling as we established the camp and melted snow for food. Yet we decided to wait for better weather.
Senator, for trip to Camp Senator. Bit.
Como ne? Diyorlar. Demizir kova.
Çıtak mosam e. Hani reçin tet jone road fixer gan invest.
Ne ठीक.
Invest reminisce. कैंप 3 स्टैब्लिश कर लेते हैं बस ये मौसम थोड़ा साथ नहीं दे रहा है
We should establish Camp 3, but weather is still bad and it's difficult to decide what to do.
समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि भाई क्या
अगर मौसम ने साथ दिया तो हम कैंप 3 लगाएंगे.
If weather favors us, then today we'll establish Camp 3 and tomorrow we'll do the summit.
in the climbing team completed the rope fixing, we have in spirit achieved a major success in our way to summit. But it was time to be humble to nature, and as the support team started to climb with their Jumars on the fixed rope, we were visited by a strong storm of wind. The snow was hitting our face like particles of sand, and we waited in despair while on the fixed rope. We were greeted by sun as we neared the end of fixed rope. It took us 4 hours to fix 350 meters of rope.
बस मौसम खराब था सर इधर तक आ गए तकरीबन ज़्यादातर
The route up here was quite tough, and we fixed the rope in very bad weather. Breaking the trail in soft snow was very difficult. Now hopefully route ahead will be easier and we'll get good weather. All the team are very strong and determined, so with God's will, we'll do the summit.
बर्फ भी ज़्यादा है लेकिन सब तगड़े हैं स्ट्रॉन्ग है
At 6,100 meters, this was our Camp 3, and if we were extremely lucky, we could climb the summit tomorrow. So we started to cut level platforms on the snow to pitch out dome tents. These tents are specially made for high altitudes, and their specific shapes are designed to face strong winds. Soon we boasted our day's achievement to our second party at Camp 1. We made ourselves comfortable in our tents, made water and soups and teas to warm ourselves. We started from the Camp 3, and after some really steep steps, traversed the snow dome on the main ridge to come out and face the summit directly. There was lots of fresh snow, and we debated if it was safe to carry on. Still, we pushed ahead, as now our route was through an open field of snow at 6,400 meters. The walk through the snowfield had really taken much heavy toll on most of us. Here we were at 6,500 meters, just 527 meters away from the summit, yet already feeling not so well. We debated and then agreed that if we had enough strength to climb the peak, but not sure about the way back. We came back down to Camp 3 totally tired, but we were safe and had the strength of our colleagues now in Camp 2 and Camp 1. They offered to bring us gas cylinders and food supplies so that we could rest for another chance. After our experience of half attempt, we decided to put up Camp 4 at 6,500 meters. This camp would now increase our chances of climbing the summit. We were happy for the sun shining above our heads, as now it was not so cold, but that made the snow too soft for any decent walk. The real challenge on the way to summit was to beat the trek on the steep slope in deep and soft snow conditions. As we reached the black rocks near the summit, it looked as if we were just 100 meters away from the summit. Yet in reality, the summit is around 230 meters from here. And this last part is steep walk on the mixed snow and ice terrain. And after all the efforts and excitements of months, here we were just a few meters away from the top of Spantik, our beloved mountain.
España, España, España es cojonuda, como España no hay ninguna. Thank you very much, Tayyip. Prepare the champagne for the base camp.